RuneScape is a massive game with over 25 years worth of updates, some still relevant, many others not. In this video, I'll be discussing 12 essential free PvM unlocks for every account. First up, we have the Infernal puzzle box. It's an early game upgrade from the Daughter of Chaos quest, and it can be further upgraded through the Civil War mini quests 1, 2, and 3, and the quest Succession. The puzzle box has 6 different tiers that you do unlock as you complete these different quests and mini quests, and each unlock has its own unique features. The main benefits include the tier 3 unlock, where your adrenaline will not drain outside of combat. You can also gain an extra 25% experience with Brawling Gloves, which is also really helpful. And upon completing Succession, you do get a 14% damage reduction and 9% increased damage dealt to monsters in the wilderness. Plus, you can add it to your tool belt, making it an all-around great upgrade for early game accounts. Upon completion of the quest Succession, you also gain access to the ability Dive, which is extremely helpful for not only just mobility around the game, but also some boss encounters later on. The Guardhouse is another pretty good early game upgrade for PvM, specifically Slayer, and you can upgrade it to tier 1 with just level 40 construction. It does give a plus 1% damage buff on Slayer assignments, which is increased to plus 2% if the target is undead. Tier 2 doesn't really provide too many great benefits. It does give you a 5% increased Ushabi capture rate and a 2% further increased chance for elite monsters. And tier 3 further improves upon this. The Guardhouse also does unlock the Slayer Master, the Raptor, which is one of the better early game Slayer Masters, since he does give you a lot of creatures that are accessible in the wilderness and combos off of your Infernal puzzle box. I am also going to lump in another really great Slayer PvM upgrade, and this is the Slayer Helm. It does require the Smoking Kills quest to create the Slayer Helm, but it also gives you a damage buff against your Slayer task creatures. And there are 6 different upgrades to the Slayer Helm, which you can later unlock, improving this damage buff. And having all of these unlocks combined together really will help your Slayer training. Speaking of upgrades, one of the best upgrades I have made in the past was to my PC, and you can too with Apex Gaming PCs. You're in luck because Apex Gaming has started their Black Friday sales, offering 15% off during the sale, making this the perfect time to treat yourself to an upgraded PC. You have many PC options to choose from, including the Apex Bronze for a more budget option, the Apex Streamer for a good mid-range option for 1080p gaming, and the Apex Streamer Plus if you want to get into 1440p gaming and more multitasking. While RuneScape isn't the most strenuous game, I do find it especially helpful having a good PC to multitask, and this could be editing videos while watching a YouTube video on the side, or just AFKing some RuneScape on the second monitor. You can check out Apex Gaming PCs using the description down below, and use my discount code SILENCED at checkout for 3% off your purchase. Thank you again to Apex Gaming PCs for sponsoring the video. Another essential unlock is the Salve Amulet, and it can be obtained after completing the Haunted Mine quest. The Salve Amulet provides a 15% damage and accuracy buff against undead monsters, and it's extremely helpful for Slayer, but also some other bosses as well, such as Raziel for Necromancy. The Salve Amulet is a best in slot when fighting almost every undead creature in the game, and it is a best in slot necklace for many of the training methods in the game. The Salve Amulet may be enchanted by completing the Lair of Tarn Razlor mini quest. This will increase the damage boost from 15% up to 20% when fighting undead creatures, so it's definitely worth working your way towards this as well. The requirements are very low. You literally only need level 15 agility and 35 crafting, as well as access to Mauritania to begin the Haunted Mine quest. And for the Lair of Tarn Razlor mini quest, you just need level 40 Slayer. Another unlock that is used almost everywhere, and something you especially want for Necromancy and to be able to use some of the best Necromancy damage rotations, is the Ring of Vigour. The Ring of Vigour is a Dungeoneering shop reward. It does require level 62 attack and 62 Dungeoneering to use, and it costs 50,000 Dungeoneering tokens. It has a really good passive effect, which allows you to save 10% adrenaline when you use an ultimate ability. So essentially, if you use an ultimate ability that costs 100%, you're going to only use 90%. This is extremely helpful for all combat styles because you are going to be using ultimate abilities for each style, but especially for Necromancy. It is especially helpful for Necromancy with its damage rotation, so you can get an extra Death Skulls rotation in with best in slot gear and perks. The ring also has another effect where when you use a special attack, so for example a special attack in an Essence of Finality, it will only cost 90% of the cost. So if the ability costs 30% adrenaline, it'll only cost 27%. This can further be buffed by completing the Extinction quest, making this ring just a passive effect. So you no longer need to wear it or switch onto it. It is just a passive across the game, and it is such a nice quality of life upgrade. So once you do get the Ring of Vigour, definitely strive for completing the Extinction quest to make this ring passive. Another amazing PvM unlock is the Darkness incantation, and this is from Necromancy. Darkness is a great incantation unlocked through Necromancy. It does require level 86 Necromancy and the completion of the Tomes of the Warlock to learn. It is unlocked through the Well of Souls and does require 8,500 souls to unlock. The effect is that you have a 20% chance to dodge incoming attacks, and the nice thing is, it can be used with any combat style as well. The only exception is that it can't be used with Animate Dead, which we will be talking about next. For Magic users out there, the City of Seneisen spells are almost essential for PvM. These spells just require the City of Seneisen quest to be completed, and the spells are absolutely amazing. Smoke Cloud will increase the critical strike damage by 15%, and with critical strikes being essential for Magic, this is a must-have. Animate Dead is a great spell for beginners, especially when learning PvM, and even non-beginners, because it's just so powerful. When combined with tank armor, you can reduce damage by up to 60%, which is absolutely huge for players that are trying to learn a boss and just not take as much damage. Exsanguinate and Incite Fear are also both great spells to use for certain ability rotations with Magic. There are so many abilities in RuneScape 3 that are locked behind ability codexes, and a lot of them are essential for some of the best damage and are huge upgrades for the account. For Magic, some of those include Greater Concentrated Blast, which is a codex you can either buy on the Grand Exchange or get as a drop from Carapac. It is fairly cheap right now, so if you are a main account and you don't have it, it's a good time to pick it up. Greater Chains is an ability codex dropped from Raksha. It is extremely good for AoE and Slayer encounters, but can also be used for some high-end damage for some speed kills. There's also abilities like Magma Tempest, which is a codex dropped from Zuk, and you can upgrade Sunshine to Greater Sunshine with a codex dropped from Samrock. If you're using Necromancy, really it's just important to go through the Well of Souls and unlock all of the abilities, as there aren't any locked abilities behind codexes at this very moment. For Melee, completing Elite Dungeon 2 will give you some really powerful upgrades to certain abilities like Greater Flurry. You can also get Greater Fury and Greater Barge. For range, there are abilities like Corruption Shot from the Mazcab raid Beastmaster, as well as Corruption Blast for Magic. There are also things like Greater Ricochet, which is one of the best upgrades for ranged, and that is a codex dropped from Raksha. Death Swiftness is an ability that is unlocked through the World Wakes quest, just like Sunshine, and is essential for ranged damage rotations. So unlocking all of these different abilities is going to be really important for your account and for the best damage rotations later on when you're doing some endgame bossing. Curses are another essential PvM upgrade for all accounts. They can be obtained through some quests, mainly the Temple at Seneisen. It does have a ton of prerequisite requirements, but it is absolutely amazing. It unlocks the Soul Split ability, as well as the abilities Turmoil, Anguish, Torment, and Sorrow. Soul Split allows you to heal back some damage dealt, and Turmoil, Anguish, Torment, and Sorrow are damage increasing abilities for their respective combat styles. This upgrade might be more of a long-term account goal since you do require level 92 prayer for Soul Split and 95 prayer for the 4 damage increasing curses. Invention is another essential unlock for players that are looking to get into PvM. It does require level 80 crafting, 80 smithing, and 80 divination to unlock, but it will unlock powerful perks that will help you not only in PvM actually, but it can help in skilling as well. Some perks that are really good include Precise 6. Precise essentially just increases your consistent damage dealt, and for example, Precise 6 is basically just about a 5% damage increase across the board. Genocidal, that's a perk for Slayer, plus 5% extra damage on Slayer targets as I progress through the task. There are things like Aftershock, which will deal a big burst of damage, Eruptive, which deals just, again, some extra ability damage. There are powerful armor perks like Biting 4, which will give you a plus 8% chance to critically strike an opponent. There are things like Mobile, which allows the cooldown for Surge, Escape Dive, Bladed Dive to be reduced by 50%. Crackling increases some extra damage periodically. Relentless allows you to save adrenaline. So all these different perks are extremely helpful in many PvM scenarios. And if you are unlocking Invention for the first time, I highly recommend you watch an Invention guide, and I will link one in the top right if you want to check one out. But there are so many useful perks to have, and some really staple perks that you will want, and they'll help you so much. So Invention is one of the strongest upgrades in the game, and it's one that you definitely will want to strive for if you're looking to get into some PvM. Archaeology relics are also free unlocks that will really boost your damage for all combat styles. Some archaeology relics that I use, especially for necromancy, is Conservation of Energy. So after using an ultimate ability, you will regain 10% adrenaline. It's absolutely essential for the best damage rotation with necromancy, but really all of these relics are super helpful. Fear of the Small is a best in slot relic for all combat styles. It allows all adrenaline gaining basic abilities to generate plus 1% adrenaline, so it is super helpful to have. Death Ward can sometimes be useful. It is a damage reduction relic, so you do get some damage reduction depending on how many life points you currently have. But there are also many other powerful combat relics as well. One here is Berserker's Fury. You would deal up to plus 5.5% damage the lower your current life points are. Very similar to the Darox effect, like the full Darox armor effect. There are other relics like Blessing of Het, allowing food and potions to heal 10% more life points. You have relics like Font of Life, which increases your maximum health by 500, and you get this by completing the Archaeology tutorial. Heightened Senses will increase the maximum adrenaline by 10%, so that can be useful for certain builds. And Persistent Rage, your adrenaline now generates outside of combat, so that can be helpful for certain AFK scenarios when PvMing. So there are all kinds of combat relics to unlock. There is a Slayer specific one, which isn't too popular, but really the main ones would be Conservation of Energy, Fury of the Small, Death Ward, Berserker's Fury, and then sometimes Heightened Senses as well. The Zuk Cape is one of the best free PvM upgrades you can get. To get it, you need to defeat normal mode Zuk, and the run needs to be one where you do not use any checkpoints. You go in and you leave by defeating Zuk, getting your Igneous Stone, and then you can combine it with your Fight Kiln Cape to create one of 4 Zuk Capes, one for each combat style. Now this cape is really good. It buffs ultimate abilities on each combat style, lowering their adrenaline cost while also improving their effects, and it's essential for some of the best damage rotations in the game. Once you have all of these upgrades, you are ready to take on any challenge RuneScape has to offer. Good luck.